What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gin College Podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, here with Cody Almasy, our college sports, college football insider. We're so happy to be back. It's been a minute, and we're back in the booth with the best. So I'm happy to have everyone with us. The GSN crew has been working very hard overnight and through the day to get the best information to you guys in a timely manner. So as we all know, the college football scene is on the way. Fantasy teams, NFL is on the way as well. But we're going to get into that with Musa, and he's got a lot of things on his way to talk about the NFL world. But for now, we're going to talk about college football and the conference carousel. We're going to call it the conference carousel. We've called it the coaching carousel, where coaches kind of jump ship. They go where the money's at. They go where the opportunities are. And we can't really blame them for that. We could talk a lot of shit about them, and we're going to. But now we're talking about the conference carousel, which is essentially the school of choice for conferences in college football. In the college football scene, we've seen it all over the place in recent news, and news breaks have been hitting our screens day after day. It just seems like it never stops. And there's conferences out there that are becoming strong. There's conferences that are becoming weak. There's super conferences that are emerging. And it seems to be the case that at some point we're going to reach the time where there are only two conferences left, the SEC and the Big Ten. That is yet to be determined. That's where I foresee things going. I'm hoping things don't go that way. Cody, give me some insight. Tell me what's going on in the grand scheme of things. Then we'll get into some specifics here shortly.
Yeah, first of all, great to be back on the GCP talking about the sport I love the most, college football. And we're 5 weeks away. It feels like getting ready for Christmas Day. It's about to be here. I say this a lot, but I mean, I just love sports, and the coming of college football it's just, there's something special about it. There's tradition behind it, and we are enamored with it all, the spirit of it, and just feel blessed to be able to get on here with you week in and week out and kind of hash it out and tell the world what we think about things. And yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about in the grand scheme of things. The teams are shuffling all over the place. We have Pac-12 teams going to the Big Ten, AAC teams going to the Big 12, Big 12 teams going to SEC, and the ACC and the Pac-12 kind of scrambling for what to do next. If you can add some, feeder teams from the Group 5 to make you somewhat watchable in respects to comparing yourself to the Big 10 and the SEC, who are going to have, the girth of the teams that are going to be competing for the college football playoff year in and year out. And that's with the expanded playoff, which is just another, stepping stone towards a product that is something completely different than what me and you grew up watching with the BCS system and two teams. And it wasn't even, there's no playoff. It was just the system told you who the best two teams were at the end of the year. And you had to accept it. Like, there was no debate, it was just, you had to accept, as Alabama and LSU or whoever any given year. But in a matter of 10 to 12 years, things are going to look drastically different than they did, not so long ago.
Yeah, the BCS, you bring up the BCS. The BCS is almost like it's like an antique. It's something that used to exist way back when. I can't really recollect when it existed, but I think it existed at some point in recent history. It's kind of became that. I remember being a little kid wearing Michigan State jerseys at block parties. We had a block party where I grew up, and it was a big deal. The Michigan State game would be lined up, and people would be having food, and might even sneak a few beers from the parents. Whatever happened, but those were the days of the BCS. It was something that was in, it seems like far away history, but it really wasn't that long ago. But I'm so happy with the college football playoff, the CFP, which has basically emerged from the depths and has become a reality, which has been long overdue. I think since the inception of college football, it's been yearning for a college football playoff or something to the sense of it. And I think we're going to see the college football playoff grow and expand and become even better as we grow as human beings. But that's beside the point. As far as the not the coaching carousel, the conference carousel, we're seeing the school of choice for college football teams. We're seeing it all the time. And the last one that was in the limelight, the most recent one that's in the limelight, rather, is Colorado. They're voting to leave the Big 12. They voted 9-0 in a unanimous vote. And Coach Prime will be leaving the Big.
They're leaving the
He
Pac-12.
goes to the Pac-12, Big 12, and Cody, we talked about this before. The Pac-12 and Big 12, we got to figure out a different name there. And if we have to do away with the Pac-12 entirely just because of the name, the closeness of the names, then so be it. I'm fine with that. They're leaving the Pac-12 to go back home to the Big 12. Let me clarify. And it's just a sign of the times for the Pac-12. They are losing their luster. They're losing their gold glimmer. And it's just a sign of the times with Colorado leaving. And Colorado by no means is a world-class team. And we're not saying that, but just to have a team leave the Pac-12 to move back to the Big 12 is a sign of the times. And I just think that we're seeing this happen, and we're going to get into some stuff with the Big Ten here shortly. But to see this happen, we're going to see some strength with certain conferences. We're going to see the strength grow. How is that going to affect the overall dynamic of the college football scene? And the Big 12 was hurting. Going into 2021-22, the Big 12 was hurting. They were in a bad spot. So they're trying to reclaim where they were at, and they want to become a world-class conference, which they used to be back in the day. Back in their heyday, they were that. So whether it's a stride, whether it's a move in the right direction, I think that's yet to be determined. I think it is. If you can gain a team, I don't care what team it is, to your conference, it's going to be a boost for your conference. You're going to get more recognition as a conference. You're going to get more 5-star recruits into your conference. You're going to get more TV deals with ESPN, Fox, CBS, NBC, you name it. You're going to get those college football TV deals, which are very much anticipated. They're very much needed to succeed as a conference. And they're very much aligned with each other. When you talk about TV deals and strength of conference, they're very much aligned because obviously the big name TV companies, they want to be a part of the big name conferences. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Cody, I guess, what do you think about the whole dynamic of it? What do you think about Colorado leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big 12? How's that going to affect the dynamic of college football?
As I said earlier, I think it's just the first NIL is the first straw, but this is kind of the next little tip of the iceberg that we're going to see. Personally, to me, Colorado seems like a Big 12 team. I don't know if that's because of how it was when I was growing up, but Colorado seems like it belongs in the Big 12. Just the kind of mantra, the vibe, seems a little more blue collar, than the Pac-12, West Coast, snooty, uppity, California schools, Oregon. So I think it's a good move. And yeah, the Pac-12 you're talking about kind of diminishing. We'll call it the Pac-9 for now because next year it's going to be 9 teams. They don't have anybody as of yet to replace UCLA, USC, or Colorado. I think that they have San Diego State, maybe starting to fill out an application. But when you think about any of those 3 teams, their history, their pedigree, San Diego State isn't really sniffing those waters, even Colorado. And that just kind of shows you where the Pac-12 is at. They're going to be scrambling, looking for other options. But to lose your 2 big moneymakers in USC, UCLA, huge. And then Coach Prime, Colorado, we're going to dig into the Pac-12 a little bit this week and the Big 12 next week. But Colorado's over-under for this season is only set at 3.5. But you hear Coach Prime's name every other day, if not, a couple times a week in the news cycle. So Colorado and Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, they're going to be bringing in a lot of money, a lot of TV deals, like you mentioned, and they're going to be a team that is up on the up and up, trending way up with a superstar, 5-star caliber coach like Coach Prime is, and the kind of talent and attention that he can draw. That's huge to lose, and it's also huge to gain if you're the Big 12 because they're losing 2 of their biggest players in Texas and Oklahoma. So at least, unlike the Pac-12, they're filling those vacancies with some people that are gonna, bring them money. Cincinnati is another big name that recently has made an ascension in college football with the help of Luke Fickell, Desmond Ritter. But now they're there. They've got they've earned their spot at the table. They got to the college football playoff, and now they're going to the Big 12 and taking that next step. And I think stuff like that is what we're going to slowly see happen to the ACC and the Pac 12 as the SEC and Big Ten kind of try to form these super conferences. I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, it is. And you look at the graphic here on the screen for those of you watching, and it's really a sign of the times. You look at this screen, and you can see that really the only two remaining teams are Oregon and Washington. That's it. You look at UCLA and the Bruins, USC and UCLA. They're going to be departing going into 2024. So we can see that happening. Colorado is the most recent to depart, and it's just one of those things. Utah. You mentioned Utah. They're going to be a powerhouse. Hopefully. Now, is Cam Rising still in the conversation, or is he out of there, Cody?
Yeah, Cam Rising is that's our guy, man. He's coming back. He's like our anti Caleb Williams. I'm gonna be following that all year long. Cam Rising, Kyle Whittingham versus Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams. That's gonna be a fun one to follow. The only on the graphic here I have Dorian Thompson Robinson from UCLA there with Chip Kelly. He's the only person in these graphics that is not going to be returning to the team. I just put him there because UCLA is now in kind of a transitional period without him, and they had a great running back who was drafted, Zach Charbonnet, also departed from the team. So they're expected to compete, but it's going to be a lot of new faces over there. So that was kind of my game plan with him. But everybody else, Cam Rising, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and Coach Prime, all 2023 going to be in the Pac-12.
Well, then you got to throw Utah and the Utes in there then as a powerhouse in the Pac-12. Then going at least into 2023, we all know that they could be on the chopping block with the conference carousel going on. It's in full force. We could see that happening where the Utah and the Utes will be on their way out of the Pac-12, given what's going on. The Pac-12 going into 2025, and we're looking a little bit into the future here. The Pac-12 could be non-existent in 2025. I mean, I'm going to make a hot take right here, right now on the GCP. The Pac-12 could be non-existent going into 2025, 26, but that's yet to be determined. A lot of decisions have to be made before we get to that point. So there's a lot to happen, a lot to take place before that happens. Hot takes are very welcome here on the GCP. They're going to happen all the time. We're just getting started. So we're looking forward. We're seeing the conference carousel take place. We're seeing it affect the SEC as well. So I guess, Cody, do you mind just getting into – we're going to get a little bit into the weeds here. Tell me about the SEC. Tell me how the conference carousel has affected them as well.
If you're at the top, if you're Georgia, Alabama, I think you're not super worried about it. Besides the fact that they will be dissolving the East and West divisions along with the Big Ten starting next year, and Georgia and Alabama might have to play a little bit more frequently. At least as not an SEC fan, I hope that's in the cards. But Texas and Oklahoma, they have some work to do before they're scaring the teams like Alabama. The rest of the SEC, Ole Miss and Vanderbilt, Arkansas, they're gonna get caught up in the thick of it a little bit and struggle to it's going to create a little bit more chaos, I think, in the middle between the Texas, the Oklahoma, the Arkansas, the Ole Miss, even the LSU. But I think LSU is trending upwards, and they're going to be more towards Alabama, Georgia region as far as the SEC hierarchy is concerned. So it's going to be an adjustment period for sure, but the top dogs aren't going to be sweating.
So you see Big 12, the Big 12 as a whole, you see them getting caught in the middle really here with the whole Pac-12 debacle, also losing a couple teams to the SEC going into 2024. They're kind of in a whirlwind phase right now. So where does the Big 12 go? We say that, gaining Colorado might be a positive for them, but losing powerhouses like Oklahoma and Texas is obviously not a good thing for the Big 12. Um, I mean, I just can't help but think, how does this affect the dynamic? Then you think about UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. It's just like, what's going on here? It's kind of like, okay, let's play musical conferences here. Let's just see who we want to go to, see where we want to take over and conquer, and we'll just sign a deal with that conference and join that conference. It's really neglected everything that has to do with geography and where you are physically located. There's nothing like that anymore. I want to go back to my original point of school of choice. It's really school of choice, conference of choice at this point with college football and in all college sports. I mean, you don't really play favorites, but essentially, I mean, you're joining the conference entirely, right? You can't just join the conference for football. Is that right? So does that mean USC, UCLA are joining the Big Ten in basketball as well, or am I missing that?
We'd have to do a little bit R&D work there because I know that there are a few I think that one is an easy transition. I think that they will be joining the Big Ten of basketball, but I know that it gets a little messy with like there's some teams that are in the Big East and like stuff like that in basketball that are not in the Big East and the ACC. It's a little bit so I don't want to get myself in the weeds there, but it's definitely
Interesting.
it definitely doesn't make sense logistically, like you're saying, for them to do besides just a strictly money making standpoint. But taking into consideration the extra travel time for all these California students to go all over because the Big
Mm-hmm.
Ten, I mean, it's the Midwest, but it's also the East Coast and the Northeast and the Rutgers, New Jersey, and places like that. So uh, it's going to be interesting. And I don't think some of the like Caleb Williams. I know he'll be going to the NFL, but I'd love to see him come to the big house and play in the cold, or even to East Lansing and face a team like that that's ready to punch a team like USC in the mouth. Welcome to my conference. Welcome to the cold. Uh, punch some California boys in the mouth. Midwestern, Midwesterner me. I'd love to see it. I still CJ Stroud, California born and raised, and he couldn't handle that Ann Arbor cold 2 years ago. And man, one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, that's one of the good ones. But we'll save the basketball talk for when the snow starts flying. How's that sound?
Yep,
Deal? Okay.
fair, fair
Good
enough.
deal. So let's just talk about the Big Ten structural changes going into 2024 amidst everything else that's going on, all the craziness, all the BS that you can kind of get caught in. Let's just talk about the Big Ten right now. So, starting in 2024, the Big Ten will get rid of the current format of East and West divisions, which is, music to my ears. We talked about this in 22 in the GCP. We might have even talked about this in 21 with the GCP. We've been talking about this for a long time. So, I'm imagining they were listening in when they made that call upstairs. They also announced a clause named protected opponents, which are rivalry games that will be played every year. Schools can have up to 3 protected opponents. For those that don't have 3, they will instead have 2 play opponents. 2 play opponents or 2 play games will have teams face off in home/away series for the 2024-25 season, and they will be swapped every 2 years. That's an interesting dynamic that I don't fully understand yet. 2 play games. So basically, you're going to have, okay, we'll play at your house. Now you got to come play us at our house. Okay. How's that going to work? How's that going to affect the dynamic as a whole? That's yet to be seen. I haven't really seen anything like that happen yet. They're making some big dynamic changes over here at the Big Ten. And this is right in our backyard. It's right on our doorstep, basically. So this affects us. This affects Michigan fans. This affects Michigan State fans and everyone around the Michigan area. It affects everybody. How do you think all these dynamic shifts/changes are going to affect the Big Ten as a whole going forward into 2024 and 25?
I mean, for me as a Michigan fan, right now it's not going to change too much because I mean, as I posted earlier, promoting this episode that all these changes going down. Even now, Ryan Day, Jim Harbaugh have opened up the discussion to the game not being played on the last week of the regular season for the Big Ten. And so if it stays that way, though, then this kind of format, Michigan and Ohio State will always still have to basically beat one another, or it just would be then they would rematch instantly in the Big Ten Conference. If say Ohio State had one loss and then they beat Michigan in the last game, or vice versa, and then they're both the only two teams. It just makes things a lot hairier when there's that set, almost already playoff game in place between these two powerhouse teams. And then also now Michigan won't play Penn State every year, and that's a huge. There are rivalries that are not going to be protected. So it's just there's going to be some advantages and some disadvantages, but some traditions are going to be lost and some new ones are going to be made. We're going to have to wait a little bit to see how everything really shakes out and how all the long-term consequences really affect how our final product is viewed.
Yeah, and that's true. I guess where do you draw the line? Where do we draw the line? Where does the NCAA draw the line? Where does the Big Ten draw the line when it comes to what can we do to preserve these traditions? These, they're basically etched in stone. The game is etched in stone. It has been, for centuries now. Who is anyone to say that shouldn't remain the case? Even when they created the divisions, even when the Big Ten was more than the Big Ten, and numbers. Let's talk about numbers for a second. The Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10. Okay, I know they had good intentions at some point. And I'm not saying change the name of the conferences because they were built off the name and the number of teams that were in that conference. So I'm not saying change that. But I just think that some of those guys that created those conferences with numbers in them, they deserve a kick in the nuts nowadays. And I'm sure the guys nowadays would want to do that. But, and it is what it is. But I think that we should do our best as college football fans, and especially those that are in higher up positions, to preserve those traditions at all costs. That's something that we really hold near and dear to our hearts, is the traditions, and that's what makes college football such a beautiful sport, and that's why we watch it every year and follow it so closely. So there's going to be controversy there. I'm going to be talking shit to the NCAA higher ups all year, probably Big Ten higher ups too, because you just can't mess with certain things, certain traditions. It's just not right. So I guess what's your take on that? And what do we do from that?
We're all just victims of. We're basically a rat in the cage. We just got to sit back and watch our game be tampered with, and hopefully, can hold on to what we valued in the game that we grew up watching. And I still love college football more than anything. And even with all the changes that are taking place, I'm probably still going to be a sucker for it. But I'll just have a little bit more to complain about. Maybe we're just becoming old because the older us males get, the more we have to, get off my lawn, keep things the same kind of way. So.
Damn it. You're so right about that, because I do have my own lawn now. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also a curse because, like, what the hell are they doing on my lawn? Get off my lawn. You know what I mean? So you have that mentality of when you're a little kid and you're going next door or you're going somewhere down the road and you're like, oh, I want to fish in this guy's backyard. I'm just going to do it because I'm a little kid and I can. But as you grow older, as you have more experience in the world, you have more of that, that old head perspective where it's kind of like, damn, I wish I didn't think that way or didn't feel that way. But in a very real sense, I can almost see what those old heads were thinking and feeling at that one point. And this is we're seeing a lot of changes here in the world of college football too, that we really haven't seen for decades, or that at least the old heads that are real old heads now, they never had to deal with NIL deals. They didn't have to deal with East and West divisions. They didn't have to deal with conferences starting in the Pac-12 and jumping ship and going to the Big Ten. They didn't have to deal with that. And that really affects the entire dynamic. It affects the college football playoff. It affects who wins certain conferences, because if you leave certain teams in the Big 12 or in the Pac-12 rather, then they're going to have more of a chance to win that conference, first of all, like most of them did to begin with before these teams left. And now they're going to have an even better chance. So how does that affect the CFP? Because then the Pac-12 might not be revered. You might be able to win the Pac-12 and not even be in the CFP, at least in a 4-team format. There's just no way. There's not enough spots.
So maybe
So
the playoff expansion, maybe these teams that are moving, to places or situations that seem like it's going to be tougher to, get one of those 4 spots. Maybe they had an inkling or some inside information that it was getting expanded, because that's a great point. Why would USC win? I mean, last year they should have won the Pac-12 with Caleb Williams, and this year they're the betting favorites. And you think, Caleb Williams is who they say he is, and Lincoln Riley is, that they should win the Pac-12, and that's a spot, one of those 4 spots, and going to the Big Ten, that road gets a whole lot harder. But at the same time, next year when they move, everything's opened up to 12 teams, and the SEC and the Big 12 might, just them being those conferences with those names, might garner a little bit more respect for one of those lower, 9 through 12 spots that, let's add it. We'd much rather add extra Big Ten team that is USC rather than, Miami from Clemson or Florida State. Florida State, I actually think they're going to have a good year this year. Sorry, Seminoles. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus like that. But just for example purposes, the Big 12 and SEC just have a little bit more prestige to them, especially now that they're going to be super conferences starting next year.
Exactly. And that begs the question of the CFP expansion. Are we going to see a CFP expansion? They've kind of, pushed it to the wayside. But I think if anything is a silver lining to all these teams jumping ship and going to different conferences, I think that this might breed a expansion of the college football playoff to either an 8-team format or even a 12-team format, which I am really crossing my fingers for. I would love to see a 12-team format CFP. And I think we have enough time. There's enough time towards the end of the season where we can have those games and we can really make them happen.
2024, we have a 12-team playoff. Sir John.
But there you go. There you go.
I
didn't know a decision was made on that.
This is the last year.
Everything's moving. Everything's moving so fast on me. All right. And I just can't keep up with all of it. It's a beautiful thing. And we're speaking things into existence.
The Rose Bowl.
There was a time. The Rose Bowl did make it happen. And I have to tell you this. There was a time in the GCP era, I believe it was in 22. Must be a very recent news break, because I think back in the day they were kind of unsure. They're like, I think we want to keep it a 4-team. Or maybe we want to keep it. Maybe we'll go to an 8-team, maybe, but we don't really know. There was a lot of uncertainty there for a certain amount of time. But I think everybody, the fans included, myself included, was really pulling for a 12-team format, because if we didn't see that happen, it was going to happen at a certain point. And now I think with all the conference carousel stuff going on, it just has to happen. That has to be the silver lining with all of it. We have to see a 12-team format. Give these teams the chance that they need, because if they're going to be ranking, there's going to be off-conference games with teams that might not be able to fight their way to the top in a very stacked Big Ten conference or a very stacked SEC conference with Texas and Oklahoma going there. Give them a chance. Give them a chance to fight as a 10 seed and say, hey, we want to fight our way to the top. Maybe we're going to play a 2 seed. We might play. They might play Alabama in their first game, but give them the chance. They might play Georgia in their first game. Give them a chance. That's all I'm saying. And it looks like they're going to have it. So,
yeah, because it was originally not going to happen until 2026, but the Rose Bowl, they were kind of the hang up. They wanted to make sure that they, they got the respect that they needed as the prestigious Rose Bowl, the location, the history behind it. And they altered the agreement, the Rose Bowl themselves, so that it'd be able to start a little bit earlier. And it's going to be next year. So with the conference realignment and the expansion, this is the last year of college football as we've known it for the last 10 plus years. And it's pretty exciting, especially, like you're saying, we were kind of anticipating it, talking about what was all going to look like 2 years ago, to the date, and it's here, and it just doesn't seem like reality, but it is.
It's reality, and it's in a real way too. And Smitty's on my ass in the chat. That's okay. Listen, this just came out in May. All right, this just came out in May. I'm looking at the article right now.
Yeah.
Just take a breath. It's all good. But what I want to say is a lot of this stuff we were talking about. We were talking about this on the GCP. We were talking about this. We basically spoke all this stuff, Cody. We spoke all this into existence because we knew it needed to happen. We knew it needed to happen because we knew that USC and UCLA were coming to the Big Ten. We knew that was going to happen. So that's obviously going to have repercussions that they're going to have to make adjustments for. And they made the correct adjustments, it looks like. So we'll see how they play out, and we'll see how they develop going into this new age of college football that we're essentially forced into, living with and dealing with and growing with. So it's going to be good. I think we're going to all enjoy it, and I'm excited. I'm going into it with an open mind, open heart, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and I mean, they already have the schedule out for this thing, so next December, it's just going to be quite the holiday season because starting December 20th, we're going to have playoff games. The first 4 games, round one, we get to call our first round. That's just pretty cool when you're talking about college football, are going to be on campus. So, in the fact that they're not going to be like neutral locations, they'll be on campus for the higher seed in the first round. Pretty exciting stuff. And then we'll get to the quarterfinals when they're going to be the Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and then the semifinals will be the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. And that's kind of how the bowl games fit in, and we're able to make this happen a little bit quicker, that they still got the respect in the game and the location that they were. And it wasn't just another bowl game, bowl season. It's still a prestigious playoff game. And yeah, I'm excited to see what it looks like. But we have to enjoy this year because a lot of games, regular season games like the game or Alabama, Tennessee, them bringing down the field goal post, those kind of games will start to lose a little bit of the luster that they have, because that's like late September, early October. One team knows their college football dreams are over. And I mean, it's also exciting in the respect that it won't be, but it takes away from how much some of those games mean in early October and a little bit before things get so serious and everybody's eliminated, so.
Yeah, it really is true, and you're going to have, the dynamics of the postseason will change as well, because it's not like, you might be able to lose a game in the postseason and be able to make it to the playoff. You know what I mean? And that kind of happened a little bit, this past year, right? With, yeah, we don't have to talk about it too much, but Buckeyes. It happened and it's going to happen. Yeah. Go ahead and set it. All right. Fine.
Sorry. Move on.
All right. Hey, we'll move on. Hey, but that's going to happen. That's going to happen even more. That's going to happen even more going into the 12-team format with the college football playoff. So you might see, starters not be played. You might see, second, third strings be played, and that's just how it is. But we're just going to see the dynamic, and there's going to have to be a couple trial years where it's like, okay, this is how this works. This is how this is going to work, and there might be some polishing that needs to take place in the higher offices to make this really a well-oiled machine. So until we see it happen, it was kind of a test run, kind of like NIL. NIL was a test run. They're continuing to run with it, and it seems like a success because a lot of the athletes have been giving their money back to good causes, charities, etc. So that worked. That worked out as is. So they really don't need to modify that system too much. Sure, there's going to be downsides. There's going to be negatives to everything, but that's with everything new that's going to take place. So we just got to look forward to it, go into it with an open mind, and just hope for the best, man. Hopefully the aura of college football that we've been, raised with keeps a lot of the tradition, as much of the tradition as it can with all these changes. Because that's all I really care about with mostly anything sports related. I want to see the tradition kept. I want to see the sport retain a lot of the old school features that it always had. That's what makes it enjoyable. That's what makes it nostalgic for us to watch our teams play on Saturdays, and it just makes it a beautiful scene. So that's all I'm hoping for, man.
Definitely. We'll just have to kind of see how it goes. Ole Miss coach said it best about NIL. What Schmitty says, yeah, Lane Kiffin, a man of the people. A little bit strange coming from Lane Kiffin, as he has been a little flaky on his college teams. USC, Tennessee. Last year, even, he's setting up at Ole Miss, doing well, establishing a culture, and there were some inklings that he might be flirting with the Auburn vacancy. He doesn't end up taking it, but there are reports that the contract is all but signed, and then he comes out, he's staying at Ole Miss. So Lane Kiffin may not be the best guy to spread this message, but he said it's basically like legalized cheating. And from the standpoint of like USC, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, they'll probably be able to give you something that other schools, even the Ole Misses, the Wisconsins, the Notre Dames, the kind of second tier of upper echelon, even them are just so below these top tier teams that it seems like legalized cheating. But as many have pointed out, that we knew this was going to happen, and it's nothing new. But it's just all just we hear new stories about it or new instances, and it seems like more water breaking from the dam. But I think it's just all everything kind of evening out, and we knew this was going to take some years of being worked through and regulating before it was going to be something that was. I don't know if it'll ever be equitable across the board, but we definitely knew it was going to be skewed in a direction of the more elitist teams. And I mean, that's just with Crown Pitts realignment, everything. That's just kind of the way the sport is trending to almost an NFL light, kind of.
And that's just the ugliness rearing its head, basically. And we knew that was going to happen. But I think in the grand scheme of it all, did NIL becoming a thing, did that ruin college football? Did that ruin college sports? Did that ruin the aesthetic of being on a college team? I don't think so. I think that it kept a lot of that luster before, and I'm going to go back to the age of the NCAA football 2014 when they just had numbers on their backs. We knew who they were. We knew who those people were on the field, and we were playing with them, right? We knew that was Tim Tebow out there, but it said QB number whatever, right? And that is what it is. But I think having the NIL, I think it's an interesting dynamic to college sports, to college athletics as a whole. And I think the more good that we see come of it, there's going to be bad. We know there's going to be bad. There's going to be bad stuff that happens with this conference carousel. We're going to see it. We're gonna live it. But I think if you can kind of live with it long enough to the point where it can kind of settle in to a rightful position, I think we'll be all in a good spot. So it's just kind of being patient with it, letting it run its course, letting the ugliness rear its head, and managing it the best we can. So that's all you really can do.
All right. I just want to kind of getting close to wrapping up. It feels like I just want to do a segment that I want to do every week with the conferences, kind of as we go through them. Things have kind of got away with us with the reintroduction episode, but let's take a look back at the Pac-12. I'm going to give John the over-under for each of the teams, and he's going to tell me if he thinks that they're going to do better or low or right on the money. And next week, he can give me the numbers and I'll pick, so I'm not just feeding John to the wolves, and I'll take some accountability too. But let's start with the lower end here of the Pac-12. It's the Stanford Cardinals. They're over under for this year. It's not good, buddy. 3 wins. You think that the Cardinal, once a prestigious, a football team, Jim Harbaugh coach and Andrew Luck quarterback, is now nowhere to be found. You think they can win more than 3 games this year in that conference?
Yeah, give me the over. Give me the over. I
I
think they
like.
can. They can beat Wazoo. Arizona might be tough, but I think they can catch Arizona State slipping. Maybe, maybe not. Give me the over 3 on that one.
He's taking over 3 on the Cardinal. All right. Now we got 5 of these teams on this graphic: Arizona State, Arizona, Washington State, and Cal. All over under 5 wins, 5 flat. All 4 of those teams deadlocked. Do you
Okay.
who exceeds and who um, falls short of those expectations?
I'll take the under for Arizona State and Wazoo. Give me the over for Cal, Arizona, and Oklahoma State.
Or that's Oregon State, and
Oregon State.
they're
That's
my
right, the
next.
Beavs.
The Beavs are my next topic of conversation, as they, the transfer portal, they are recipients of a once prized DJ Uyunglele there and his new Beavs uniform. I found a pic on the interwebs, and maybe a change of scenery, a different color orange will be good for him. They have Oregon State over under 8.5 wins this year, so
Oh,
pretty
wow.
lofty expectations for the Beavs. But they
So the
won 10
Beavs,
games. They won 10 games last year. I think we forget that. The Oregon State Beavers won 10 games in 2022 with
so
no
do they give them
quarterback.
over 8? You said over 8 or 8.5?
8.5.
Okay. So basically the question is, does DJ Youngale, does he exceed expectations or does he crumble under the pressure of the high expectations? You know what? I love the Beavs. The Beavs are one of my favorite teams out there. So do I take them as for an over under of 8.5? I take the under. Give me under 8.5 wins for
Yeah.
Oregon State.
Unfortunately, I'm with you there. It's just the top end of this conference, as you'll see, is it's looking a little loaded. So we'll move over to the other 6 teams as it's for one more year, the Pac-12, until it regresses to the Pac-9 next year. So we'll start with Coach Prime. Expectations are not high for this year, which is a good thing. You don't want to bring in the hype too early. So the Buffaloes this year, the bar is only set at 3.5 wins. What do you think?
I think that is. Do they win? So are you saying do they get over 3.5?
Yeah. So do they win 4 or do they win 3?
No. Give me the under. Give me the under. Coach Prime, love the guy, love his energy. He looks like a jackass with that cowboy hat on. But I love his energy. I think he's a little bit pretentious. I think he's a little bit of a shit talker. And I liked him more at Jackson State because I think that was more of his energy, more of his speed, more of his pace of play. Where now I see him at the Colorado Buffaloes. I see him almost being somebody that he's not, trying to replace Mel Tucker, which he will just never do. And I think that he has high hopes for that team, but I just think they're under talented, under coached, and a little bit pretentious. I think overall as a coaching staff, and I hope they prove me wrong because I want to see them do well. I really do love Coach Prime. I might be talking some shit about him here on the podcast, but hey, I love Coach Prime as a human being. I think he has a lot of great energy. I love seeing him on those Aflac commercials with Nick Saban. Great energy, great comedy. I think he does a lot better at those than he does coaching. Okay, no offense, Coach Prime, but I think you're a better actor. I think you belong in Hollywood. Maybe travel a little bit west, just a little bit further west, and you'll find your place in Hollywood. So give me under 3 for this season, and
I
I hope
think
they prove me wrong.
I think you might be on track though, because CBS Sports has them hitting the under in the 3 games they win: Wazoo, Colorado State, and Nebraska. Which I don't think Nebraska is going to be a given for him
No
because
way.
Matt Rule's coming in from the Panthers, and that should be a fun game. 2 new coaches, really kind of rebuilding, but looking to project themselves forward. So I'm going to like that matchup whenever it presents itself to us, but I don't think that's just a given win for him. So I think, unfortunately, Coach Prime struggles this year. And yeah, let's get to the fun teams now. UCLA dropping off a little bit. We said it earlier. DTR, Zach Charbonnet gone, but you still got Chip Kelly. UCLA is also I think right there with Oregon State, 8.5.
Okay, UCLA right there at 8.5 wins for the season is the line as it stands. Oh man, I think it's really going to be tough to replicate the season they had in 22 without DTR, without some of the players that they've lost to the draft. Obviously, you got Chip Kelly there, Hall of Famer coach. I got to take the under. I don't have the faith in the Bruins going into this season. I think there's just too much competition out there, especially you got Utah out there. You got some non-conference games going to be playing a factor. I got to take the under there, under 8.5.
All right, under 8.5. I'm right there with you again, my friend. Let's move on to Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies, the leading passer of the NCAA last year. Michael Penix back again. Once we were real close to him in the Big Ten. Now he's in his second year with the Huskies, looking to build on the success he had last year, and they are set for 9.5 wins.
Oh
Lofty,
boy.
lofty expectations.
Damn. I was hoping it was going to be less than 8.5 because, I mean, obviously, Michael Penix Jr., that entire Washington Huskies team, they were very hot and cold last year, as we very well know. They were hot when they had to be, and they were cold when they could be. But even towards the ass end of the season, they were cold when they couldn't be. So that's what kind of has me worried about the Washington Huskies as a whole. I got to take the under. I got to err on the side of caution. Give me the under 9.5 for the Huskies.
Yeah, I don't think that defense improved enough to really stop, these next couple teams we're going to talk about. Let's start with Utah. Not that high of expectations. Maybe should have done them first before Washington. They're set at 8.5 with UCLA and Oregon State. Cam Rising, man, he's been disrespected his whole career. Why would it stop now?
There's no reason for it to stop. Give me the over. Whatever it is, give me the over for the Utah Utes. Cody, you know it better than anybody. I love the Utah Utes. I love Cam Rising. I love everything about this Utah team. And I think that the sky's the limit for them. They had a lot of unfinished business in 2022. And I think that they are going to accomplish greatness. They're going to achieve great things going into 2023, especially with retaining a lot of great players that they had when they were at their best. So give me the over. I love the Utes.
Yeah, I might have to take the bet on that over under because they got a chip on their shoulders, the adversity that they have faced, and they're reigning back to back Pac-12 championships and getting no love. So, yeah, we're big Utes fans over here.
Huge.
Oregon and Bo Nix, Dan Lanning at the helm as head coach. They are set for 9.5. I think they're expecting Bo Nix to have a hell of a year and really clean up the mistakes that he was cleaning up at the end of the season last year, and for Oregon to really make that next step and compete with USC for the top of the Pac-12.
You know what? Give me the over. I love Dan Lanning. I love Bo Nix. I love the move for Bo Nix to go play for the Ducks that he made, and I've seen a lot of spirit in him playing for that Oregon offense. So give me the over. I mean, listen, Vegas knows it's early. They know it's early, and we could all be wrong, and no one will judge us for it because it's so early. No one's judging Vegas yet because any line they make for that first game, it could be completely wrong, and they've been very wrong historically looking back at first games of the season. So we'll take that with a grain of salt, but we'll ride with Vegas here. We'll take the over 9.5, and we'll just see where it takes us. Because even if we're wrong, it doesn't matter. We don't really have to leverage anything.
All right, and last but not least, the team we all love to hate, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, and who kind of started the coaching carousel and just this huge movement, at least the most recent wave of it, Lincoln Riley, when
Give me the under.
and Caleb Williams left the Sooners 2 years ago. It's set at 10. So that means they have to.
Oh, shit. Give me the under. Easy under. 10?
Yep.
Holy shit. They're riding USC and the Trojans more than they're riding Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks or Cam Rising and the Utah Utes.
That's their only loss is at Oregon, but then they still have them winning the Pac-12. So
listen to this. Everybody has USC's number going into this year. One, because of Lincoln Riley and everything he did leaving that Oklahoma Sooners team. I still will have his number, and people haven't forgot about that. Now, the same can be said about Chip Kelly too, okay? Or even Coach Prime for leaving Jackson State, okay? Everyone does it. Dan Lanning did it too. So, okay, maybe you can take that one off the table. Take it off the table. But I just think all the hype that is surrounding USC and the Trojans, and that was surrounding it last year, and now Vegas is on their ass like crazy this year. Just give me the under, man, because everybody has their number, and now it's people are gonna say it's all subjective. Oh, you know, commish, you're talking a bunch of shit, you're talking out your ass here. Listen, I think I'm onto something here. Give me under 10. I think I'm right. What can I say?
I hope you are, because I'll say it throughout the year. He's going to be the one athlete that I'm going to kind of, choose to stand against. And it's Caleb Williams. I just hated the move with he wrote F Utah on his fingernails, and he tries to say it was for mental health awareness. Just
Come on,
save
man.
it. Man, I'm going to hang 100 on Cam Rising and the Utah Utes when that time comes.
Oh, you got to. You have to. I'll match that. I'll match that too.
Finnan's savings, life savings.
It's Finnan's college fund.
Yep.
Hey, listen, everyone's going to have USC's number this year. I'm going to have their number this year, and I'm going to have their number next year when they join the Big Ten, because that's an even higher pedestal for me to have a chip on my shoulder against the USC Trojans. Okay, that brings Lincoln Riley even closer to the Midwest, which is where he knows he's not welcome here. He has a lot of haters out here in the Midwest, and people are starting to have his number out here in the Big Ten. So that goes without saying. That really speaks for itself. And it speaks to the hatred that is shown towards the USC Trojans. And I'll be talking shit about them all year on this podcast, so make sure you watch out for that.
Well, that wraps up our little breakdown of the Pac-12, and I think most of our reintroduction episode here. It's been pretty fun.
Oh man, it's been a blast, and there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of heated conversations talking about certain teams. There's a lot of ambition going into the season. And I think we have to be expecting a lot of this craziness to happen. A lot of this stuff is going to take place. A lot of it's going to come at us very fast. And we have to be moving along with it. We have to grow and adapt with what this college football scene is throwing at us. And it's just a lot of craziness going on. We got to grow and adapt. But obviously the hatred for certain teams will not dissolve. It will not go away. Even after the season, I mean, trust me, these things, these rivalries, these rufflings of feathers, they have a lasting effect. They have a big ripple effect going into over decades, and that's what I think a lot of that. And it started from a land dispute, which started the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, which is still very alive and well to this day. So you can see how a pebble can really cause a wave. It can cause a tidal wave. In a lot of ways. And we're seeing that happen every day. But that adds to the fun of college football and the rivalries and the experience of it all. So I'm looking forward to the season, man.
Same here. Next week we'll talk shit about Oklahoma and Texas. Can't wait.
Oh, man. I can't wait. We'll start to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I got to say real quick, I am growing a mullet. Okay, I'm growing a mullet. We were looking at the best mullets of all time before we went live tonight. And I just have to announce that for the people. So make sure you're following along. For those of you looking at the beautiness here on the screen. Do a little twist for you.
Day one.
This is day one. I told people about it. I came out publicly and said, hey, guys, I'm growing a mullet. I've told a few people. I haven't told a lot of people. This is the first time really coming out publicly and saying it. So make sure to follow along with the journey of the mullet taking place. And hopefully we can join the list of greatest mullets of all time. Who knows? The sky's the limit when it comes to lists like that. So follow it along. It's going to be growing all season, all NFL season, all college football season, and even into March Madness, which we plan on to be growing it well into March Madness. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of updates, a lot of things happening over here at GSN, a lot of podcasts in the works. We're working with a lot of different local companies, local athletes, and we're going to be getting them on here live for you guys ASAP. So, Cody, you got any final words before we sign off tonight?
Hey, guys, just thanks for tuning in, and continue to tune in as we edge closer to the kickoff of the 2023 season. It's going to be a great time. It's going to go fast, and going to be a lot of controversy, debate, and discussion. So come be a part of it.
Come be a part of it, join the mission, and follow us on social media. Get online, get on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com. Find all of our podcasts, articles, and information / updates and news on that website as well. Everything's on there. And all of it can be found in our link tree as well, which is in the bottom of our podcast in the description. So we'll look forward to you guys seeing us on there and on all the media waves, all the social media waves across the internet. We'll see you guys here next time on the GCP. But for now, I'm John J. II here with Cody Almasy for the Gin College Podcast.